I can beat this bus there. You know, I lay awake at night thinking how I'm going to do this. So I would wait behind the barn, and when the bus would come, my brother would get on, and he would take off.
On January 15, 1973, Timothy Brown was driving home when his phone rang. It was Mass H producer Larry Gelbart, with news that would haunt him forever. Brown was fired on the spot. No warning, no explanation that made sense. They claimed black surgeons never served in Korea. Brown knew something was wrong, but he couldn't prove it. 27 years later, he confronted Gelbart face to face. What he learned about his firing wasn't just unfair, it exposed a cover-up that went straight to the top. Timothy Brown, born Thomas Allen Brown on May 24, 1937, in Knightstown, Indiana, arrived in the world during a hard time. The Great Depression had already crushed his parents, and by 1942, when he was only 5, they had no way to keep raising him and his brother, John. So Timothy was taken to the Indiana Soldiers and Sailors Children's Home Orphanage. It was strict, it was cold in winter. Clothes and shoes came from donations, and half the time the kids wore whatever fit, even if it was thin or torn. Yet inside that place, Timothy started showing something special. During chores, he would race across the yard and leave older boys behind. He was small, but fast, and he kept getting faster. By the time he turned 10, he could not wait for anyone to hand him a chance. He trained in secret in the orphanage yard. No real footballs were around, so he rolled up socks and made his own. No cleats either. He ran anyway, right through bitter Indiana winters, on hard dirt that cut his feet and punished his knees. He stayed out after the other kids went inside, sprint after sprint, drill after drill. The field was uneven and rough, and the pain he picked up there followed him into adulthood. Still, he never slowed down. That same year, 1947, another door opened. At 10, he joined the orphanage basketball team as a point guard. He was only 5'6", the smallest guy on the court, and it did not matter. In his very first game, he dropped 25 points against a local church team. He slipped through taller defenders, quick hands, quick feet, quick mind. The administrators noticed. The kids noticed too. For the first time in a long while, people were not looking past him. They were looking at him. Then 1950 arrived, and his running finally got written down on paper. Orphanage records show he won his first real sports award that year, a wooden plaque for track. At a school meet, he ran the 100-yard dash in 12 seconds, barefoot, on a gravel track. The conditions were rough, but his time was clean and sharp. The administrators were impressed enough to get him his first proper athletic sneakers. It was a small gift, but to him it felt huge. New shoes meant someone believed he was worth it. He carried that feeling with him. But even while his talent was growing, another battle kept showing up. Years later, in a 2015 interview, Timothy said racial taunts from white peers at the orphanage never really stopped. Some days it was words. Other days it turned into fights. In 1952, it boiled over. He punched a bully who kept hitting him with racial slurs, and he got suspended for it. He learned something painful in that moment. He had to protect himself. He had to stay tough. That toughness became part of his game, part of his life, and it stayed there. By 1955, he was a senior at Morton Memorial High School in Knightstown, and he was the heartbeat of the football team. As a running back, he piled up 1,200 rushing yards and 115 points that season. Night after night, he tore through defenses with fearless speed. One chilly Friday in November, he delivered the run people still talk about, a 95-yard touchdown against Richmond High that sealed the regional championship. The Tigers went undefeated that year, and newspapers called him the Tiger with the jetpack. Defenders kept reaching for him and grabbing air. His name became local legend. Around the same time, his basketball story was still loud. In 1954, during his junior year, he got 15 college basketball scholarship offers from big schools such as Purdue and Indiana University. For a black athlete in that era, that kind of attention felt rare and heavy. Coaches expected him to jump. People around him expected it too. But Timothy surprised them. He turned down most of those offers because he could not stand the thought of leaving the home he grew up in. The orphanage had become his family after his parents split, and walking away from it felt wrong. He poured that energy into track instead, and in 1954 he set a school long jump record of 19 feet 6 inches. It was his way of choosing stability over over the easy road, and it said a lot about who he was. Track gave him pride, but it also gave him another lesson about the world. During the 1955 state meet, he won the 200-meter dash, beating a favored white competitor by 0.5 seconds. He threw his arms up, shouted, and celebrated hard. Officials called it excessive celebration and disqualified him on the spot. The papers argued for weeks. Some said it was harmless joy. Others attacked his decorum. Timothy did not forget it. He saw the double standards clearly, and he tucked that fire into his chest. He had already felt that bias before. In a 1990 Eagles Hall of Fame speech, he talked about his junior year at Morton Memorial when coaches benched him for 3 games. Their reason was that he refused to let up on tackles against smaller white players. They called him too aggressive. Timothy said that was the first time he understood the rules were not the same for everyone. It hurt, but it also sharpened him. He decided that if people wanted to misunderstand him, he would still win anyway. So when he reached Ball State Teachers College in 1955, he came with almost nothing, a duffel bag and $50. Only one scholarship offer had reached him from Michigan State, and Ball State did not bring him in as a star. He walked on. He washed uniforms and worked odd jobs just to survive. The adjustment was rough. Some black students even mocked him, saying he seemed too white because of how he had been raised in mostly white orphanages. He stayed quiet, stayed focused, and kept grinding. His grades slipped in that pressure, and in 1957, he was expelled. Later, he was readmitted with strict conditions. He fought through it, and by the end, he stood as Ball State's all-time leading scorer and a holder of 6 school records. That legacy lasted more than 60 years. His freshman football season in 1955 showed what he could do. He rushed for 450 yards right away, yet even that year came with conflict. Head coach Jim Freeman ran things with strict discipline, and Timothy did not bend easily. In one public incident, Timothy refused to salute the team flag, calling it military nonsense. Freeman suspended him for 2 games. It made headlines. It was not only about a flag, it was a young man standing on his beliefs, even if it cost him playing time. That stubborn honesty followed him everywhere. He kept delivering on the field. In 1957, he lit up Butler University with 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in a 28-14 win. His speed was electric. That season earned him all NAIA honors. At the same time, he kept his grades strong with a 3.2 GPA in business courses, and he worked night shifts at a local diner to help pay his way. It was exhausting. Still, he did it. He had learned endurance long before college. His senior year carried another moment that people remembered. At the NAIA Nationals, he clocked a 10.8-second 100-meter time, the kind of mark that could put him in the spotlight. But he skipped the event anyway. His brother was getting married, and family came first. He chose the wedding over the race. Teammates talked about it for years because in sports, the pressure to chase glory never stops. Timothy's priority was clear. There were darker parts too. In 1958, a hazing ritual by upperclassmen went too far. They tackled him off the field during initiation, and he ended up with a fractured rib. He later called it the brutal underside of college football. He did not hide it. He talked about it, and that honesty helped push awareness of hazing and its real cost. Timothy Brown entered the NFL in a way that felt fast, rough, and almost unreal. He was drafted by Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers in the 27th and final round of the 1959 NFL Draft, a spot so late that most players never make it out of training camp. But Brown had been a standout at Ball State, a running back and return specialist who knew how to slip through tackles and explode into open space. Lombardi, starting his first year as head coach, was shaping the Packers into a force. Still, Brown's first taste of the league turned into a nightmare. In a preseason game against the Bears, he was told to hold for a field goal. He had barely practiced it. The snap came in hot. He dropped it. The kick failed. Lombardi's anger burned through the sideline. The mistake stayed heavy in Brown's chest. The next morning, still shaken, he heard Lombardi call him uncoachable. Then he heard he'd been cut. He lasted only one regular season game, a 9-6 win over the Bears on September 27, 1959. For someone who had broken records at Ball State, the sudden end hit hard and left him with no choice but to leave Green Bay right away. He walked off with only $20 in his pocket and a long road ahead. He didn't know where to go next, so he stuck out his thumb and hitchhiked hitchhiked from Green Bay all the way to Philadelphia, more than 1,000 miles. The journey stretched over days. He slept in bus stations and kept pushing forward because stopping felt worse. When he finally reached Philadelphia on October 15, 1959, he had nothing but a belief that he wasn't done yet. His story had been noticed earlier that year when Eagles GM Vince McNally watched him in an exhibition game. McNally liked his burst and called him in. The Eagles signed him to their taxi squad. Slowly, inch by inch, Brown climbed back. Right before the 1960 season began, he earned a place on the active roster. That hitchhiking trip, fueled by hunger and grit, became one of the key turning points in his life. His first real practice with the Eagles became team folklore. He caught a punt, darted past defenders, cut hard left, and broke free for a 65-yard touchdown return. The run stunned the coaches. It stunned the GM Jack Mara. Brown felt a rush of joy and did a little dance at the end. The team didn't like celebrations, though. Mara fined him his first $100 signing bonus for showboating. Even so, Brown kept the memory close because it proved he belonged. His first paid game came on September 25, 1960, and soon he became one of the most dangerous players on special teams. By the end of that season, he helped the Eagles win the championship, returning the opening kickoff for 22 yards in the title game against his former Packers. Lombardi watched from across the field. Brown had gone from being cut to being part of the team that took down the new dynasty in the making. His rise started right there. Life outside the field was a struggle, though. In 1960, rookie players earned only $8,000 a year, not even enough to stay afloat in a big city. Brown hurt his ankle in preseason and needed money fast, so he joined the Army National Guard. He drilled on weekends, rehabbed during the week, and missed 2 games before returning stronger. His salary was less than what many minimum wage workers make today, and guard pay kept him alive. Back then, NFL players worked extra jobs all the time. Few fans remember that when they think about those glory years. There was another part of his story that carried a heavy weight. In a 1959 press conference, Lombardi called him a diva dropout. Years later, in a 1973 CBS interview, Brown said the term wasn't about his play. He believed it was rooted in race. He said Lombardi wanted black players to follow orders without questioning anything, and that calling him uncoachable was a way to push him out for not fitting that mold. Brown's words opened a door to conversations that the league avoided at the time. It showed what many black athletes faced in the late 1950s and early 1960s, when expectations were strict and voices were often forced quiet. But on the field, Brown kept rising. In 1960, he rushed for 461 yards and scored 3 touchdowns as the Eagles' third-string running back. His real spark came on returns. He averaged 15.6 yards per punt return. He broke off 4 returns over 50 yards. On October 30th, 1960, he took a punt 78 yards against the Giants, waking up the Franklin Field crowd like a lightning strike. His energy helped the Eagles win the 17-13 NFL championship that December. He had become a fan favorite without saying much at all. By 1961, fans started calling him Timmy. They liked the way he darted, twisted, and cut through traffic. That season, he led the entire NFL with 14.2 yards per punt return, the best in the league. His big moment came on November 26, 1961, when he broke loose for a 77-yard touchdown return against the Giants. But his season was cut short. He pulled his hamstring on Thanksgiving after a hard hit from the Bears. He missed 4 games, though his average still ended up among the best in team history. In 1962, he became the Eagles' starting halfback. He gained 100 all-purpose yards and kept showing how versatile he was. Reporters compared him to Jim Brown, but Timothy brought something different. He ran, he caught, he returned, he blocked. He even argued with the media when they overlooked his blocking. His work earned him a Pro Bowl selection. His 2,306 all-purpose yards led the entire NFL, outpacing even Jim Brown in several areas. The Eagles had a rough 2-10.2 season, but Timothy stayed one of their few bright sparks. His toughness showed again in 1963. On December 2nd, in a Monday night game against the Cowboys, he stiff-armed Bob Lilly, a future Hall of Famer, and sprinted for 45 yards before twisting his ankle and needing stitches. He watched the rest of the 38-21 loss from the sidelines. Still, by the end of that season, he led the NFL with 2,428 all-purpose yards. He kept proving he was explosive and fearless, even when disaster sat one step away. In 1964, he wanted a raise. He held out for 10 days asking for $5,000 more. While While waiting, he drove a taxi through Philadelphia to pay his bills. He later said the holdout came from unpaid bonuses he believed he deserved from the 1960 championship run. Back then, players didn't push back often. Brown did. The Eagles eventually gave in, and he returned to the team. His stand became an early sign of how players would fight for themselves in the decades that followed. Then came another defining moment from 1960. On December 26th, the Eagles faced Lombardi's Packers on a cold day at Franklin Field, with more than 67,000 fans watching. Brown helped the Eagles win the championship 17-13 by setting up the game-winning score and blocking on key plays. He averaged 6.8 yards per carry that season and led the team in returns. The win felt sweeter because of Lombardi. Brown had been cut by him months earlier. Now he lifted the trophy on the opposite sideline. In 1965, he delivered another highlight. He racked up 1,844 all-purpose yards that season and returned a kickoff 98 yards for a touchdown against Washington. But joy turned into panic fast. While celebrating, he crashed into the goalpost and suffered a severe concussion. He missed 2 full weeks, and the hit showed how unsafe the game could be. There were no concussion checks or recovery plans. Players were left on their own. Brown's toughness shined, though the long-term cost stayed hidden. The worst injury came 2 years later. On December 10, 1967, against the Cowboys, linebacker Leroy Jordan hit him late with an elbow that shattered his jaw and knocked out 9 teeth. Brown needed 12 dental surgeries. The cost reached $15,000, which he paid himself. Fans called the hit dirty. The rivalry between the Eagles and Cowboys exploded from that moment. The league gave no punishment. Brown called it the dirtiest blow he ever took. The pain followed him long after the game ended. In 1969, he sued the NFL for failing to protect him, though the case was dismissed. Even so, it helped push the league toward future safety discussions. After the injury, the Eagles released him. The Baltimore Colts picked him up in 1968. He played 14 games and gained 390 yards. He hoped to shine in Super Bowl III, but a practice fumble led to him being benched. He watched the Jets win 16-7 from the sideline, one of the biggest upsets in NFL history. He had scored the last touchdown in the 1968 NFL championship game, but his final moment in the league came from the bench. It was a tough ending for someone who had carried so many games with his speed and courage. Timothy Brown stepped into television at a time when most NFL players were still trying to protect their knees, not build acting careers. It started in 1967 when he appeared on the Wild Wild West as Clint Cartwheel. He was still an active player then, and he got the part after making a bold cold call to CBS. At first, they only wanted him as an extra in Los Angeles, but the moment he walked into the room, they saw something stronger. The episode aired on September 8, 1967, opening the 3rd season, and there he was, playing a henchman in a Western espionage story while squeezing filming between Philadelphia Eagles practices. It became a rare moment in sports and entertainment, a player crossing over mid-career and leaving a small but memorable mark on the show's history. 2 years later, in 1969, ABC reached out and offered him something huge. They wanted him as an analyst for Monday Night Football. That job could have put his voice in living rooms across America for years, but he said no. He wanted acting. He trained on weekends at the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute in New York, memorizing lines on Eagles flights, reciting scenes by the window as teammates slept. The institute was known for shaping serious actors, and he went all in. That choice moved him toward Hollywood, even though it meant giving up a comfortable future. He retired from the NFL at 32 in 1969 and headed straight to Hollywood. His first film job came before he fully understood the business. He became a sailor extra in The Sand Pebbles, the massive Steve McQueen film shot in Taiwan, and Hong Kong from November 1965 to mid-1966. Brown appeared on the replica gunboat USS San Pablo and made $500 for 2 weeks of work. It was not much, but it was a start. The film cost $12 million and ran for more than 7 months of shooting, so being part of it showed him how demanding big-budget cinema really was. A real turning point came in 1972 with Sweet Sugar. He played Mojo, a convict planning a prison break. This time, he was the lead. He did all his own stunts, even jumping 20 feet off a rooftop in the Florida Everglades. He bruised his ribs but refused to slow down. The Everglades brought crocodiles, heat, and long days, but he pushed through them. The risks paid off, and fans remembered the film for its wild action scenes. That one role pushed him into more films in the early 1970s. Back in 1970, he decided to change his stage name from Timmy to Timothy because too many people confused him with Jim Brown. Even with the change, early Hollywood treated him like a newcomer starting from zero. He faced 50 rejections in his first few years. In a 1975 Variety interview, he said it felt like starting football again in a white man's game. Those words revealed a truth many avoided. He kept trying anyway, carrying his athletic discipline into an industry that kept shutting doors. During the 1970 filming of Mas H.O.U. H, he played Corporal Judson and brought a spark to the football game scene shot at Malibu Creek State Park. He shouted the line, "Hit them where it hurts," and it was not even in the script. The improv made the final cut. Brown earned $2,000 for 3 weeks of work, which was strong for a small role then. The football game became one of the highlights of the film, adding energy that helped shape the movie's wild and chaotic style. He went bigger with car stunts in 1972 when he appeared in Black Gun. He played Larry, a gun runner, and helped build up a famous chase scene involving a 1968 Mustang flipping over a barricade. A stunt double handled the crash itself, but Brown drove the car for the approach. The sequence was shot in downtown Los Angeles and became one of the best car stunts of the early 1970s, adding to his reputation as someone who brought real danger and real confidence to the screen. Robert Altman cast him again in Nashville in 1975. Brown played Tommy Brown, a backup singer, and recorded 3 tracks for the film, including work on the Oscar-winning song I'm Easy. During a session, he slipped into an ad-lib harmonica solo. Altman loved it and kept it in the final cut. The film shot across Nashville for 4 months in 1974, and its musical style helped it win big. Brown's performance opened doors for him in side gigs and studio sessions. Not every moment came smooth. While filming Bonnie's Kids in 1973, he played Digger and got into a knife fight scene with Tiffany Bowling. During a take, he accidentally nicked her, which forced the team to rewrite the scene and shoot it 15 times. It became a story the cast remembered for years, a sign of how far Brown pushed realism, sometimes too far. Another tense moment happened during Nashville's shoot in 1974 when he confronted Altman over a racially insensitive joke in the script. Brown threatened to quit if the line stayed. Altman removed it, and Brown later said it was his stand against Hollywood's casual bigotry. It became one of the rare public pushbacks against a major director at the time. Brown's run on the MASH TV series came in 1972 when he played Dr. Oliver Harmon Spear Chucker Jones. In one episode, he threw a real 40-yard pass to Hawkeye, surprising the cast and the live audience. His role brought energy, but the show had too many main characters. Internal notes called it narrative overload. With 6 surgeons competing for space, producers needed to narrow the cast. Brown appeared in 6 episodes, including Cowboy, where he saved a patient with an improvised clamp technique that mirrored real MASH improvisation in Korea. Then came the hardest moment. On January 15, 1973, after the episode The Long John Flap, Brown got a call from Larry Gelbart. He was fired. The public reason was historical inaccuracy. Producers claimed there were no black surgeons in MASH units during the Korean War. He got the news on the drive home, and the shock hit him immediately. Behind the scenes, there were whispers about budget cuts and too many characters. Years later, research proved the official reason wrong. Surgeons like Captain Alvin Vincent Blount Jr. served in integrated MASH units and worked on multiple surgical tables near the front lines. Brown confronted Gelbart in 2000, calling the firing a career gut punch. The moment exposed how race and fear of controversy shaped decisions that should have been honest. After Mass Stage, he moved into pure action. In 1974, he starred as Stud Brown in Dynamite Brothers. He did a wild motorcycle chase in Los Angeles alleys that took several days to shoot in June 1973. He crashed once, got bruised, and kept going. The stunt won an award at the 1974 Action on Film Festival. The movie cost only $300,000 to make, but grossed $1.2 million. His athletic background made the stunts believable, and fans loved it. In 1976, he played Detective Kicks in Black Heat. The rooftop shootout scene became the film's big moment. He improvised lines scenes, handled explosions, and kept his calm even after a controlled blast scorched his costume. The team spent 2 days shooting the sequence in downtown Los Angeles. His toughness made the moment feel real, and critics praised the action. Later, life brought a different kind of influence. In 1987, he became a father to his son Sean and took a job as a correctional officer at Camp Kilpatrick. He stayed there 15 years. He talked to at-risk teens using stories from his own childhood in an orphanage. His unit saw a 20% drop in recidivism, far above the average. He treated the teens like young men who still had a chance, not inmates lost to the system. Reports from the Los Angeles Probation Department praised him for it. His final film role came in 2000 in Frequency. He played Roofman Billy and climbed a burning set with real flames and smoke. He did most of his own stunts, even at 63. He retired to Palm Springs afterward, spending years mentoring young actors. He continued until 2015, when dementia began affecting him. Timothy Brown died on April 4, 2020, at age 82. A year later, an unpublished memoir draft revealed something he had carried in silence. Back in 1973, after being fired from CBS Sports, he attempted suicide. He was saved by phone calls from Eagles teammates who noticed he was missing. The story showed the weight athletes carry when their careers shift and how loneliness can build in silence. Those calls kept him alive. He later became a voice for mental health in sports and entertainment, using the pain he lived through to help others find stability.